Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole and I'm here today to talk to you all about adhesives. Now I'm not here to talk to you all about all adhesives, but I did want to talk to you about the Creative Memories adhesives, all of which have been tested to be safe and for your scrapbooks and permanent, with a couple of exceptions which are non-permanent on purpose, and we're going to talk about those. But I want to start by talking about the tape runner. Now, if you look on the Creative Memories website or in the catalog, they just call this the tape runner. And this is our standard workhorse. This is great for pretty much everything you're going to need to do with your scrapbooking. So if you can only have one place to start with adhesives, start with the tape runner. So the tape runner, as you can see, has little spools of adhesive. It feeds through here and it comes out on this little roller that's going to help you roll it onto your page. And then each of these little segments of this tape runner, I'll do a little piece right here. So if you look on here, well, you can't even tell that those are little segments, but if I'm careful, I can just do one. All right, that was two. Maybe I can't just do one. All right, there's one little segment of the tape runner. And so the whole thing, you get 34 feet, and it's made up of those tiny little pieces. They're like 1/4 of an inch wide by maybe 1/16 of an inch. And then when you put them all together, they act like a solid tape, but you can just have that little tiny segment. Now, when you're using this on your photos, all you're gonna need is about 1/4 inch of adhesive in the corner of each photo, and that's gonna be enough to hold your picture down. Sometimes if it's a bigger photo, you might want a little bit more in the middle. But you really don't need a lot. I know that there are people out there who really want to know that their photos are safe, and they will quickly, run a whole length of adhesive down their picture a couple of times. You really do not need to do that. I know you think that you need to do it, but this adhesive has been tested to be strong, and especially when you're going to put your photos in an album with a page protector over the top, really just a little dab will do you. Just about 1/4 of an inch in each corner of a photo. If you do that, that works out to be about 1 inch per photo, and you can adhere 400 photos with one tape runner. Now, if you'll see on this one, I can see there's red showing through here. That means I'm almost out of tape runner. So it's super easy to replace the tape runner. We sell the tape runner as a single unit, and then you can purchase the refills. And so all you need to do to take out the cartridge is pop open this top, and you'll see that the whole refill cartridge comes out in one unit. And you see that red tape. I mean, I could probably do one more photo with this, but then you just open up your new cartridge and look for where the adhesive is. So this has kind of gone a little bit over the top, but this is the side that has the sticky. And so you want to line up this sticky section with this white slider down here on the bottom. And that way you know you've got it in right. The little case has little prongs in it, and your cartridge is going to slip over those little prongs, and you'll know it's seated in there when it's flush with the top, and then you can pop the cover back on, and then you're good to go again, just with your tape. If it ever does kind of get jammed up a little bit, you can rotate it with your finger on this little wheel on the top. So that's how you know you're using it right, if your finger's up here on the wheel and this little white protective slidey thing is on the bottom. You may need to play a little bit with it to figure out the right angle. Some people hold theirs pretty up vertical, kind of up and down. Other people do it a little bit like this. If you're too far down, it's not going to work as well, but just figure out for you how it fits best in your hand and to get it to work. And then when you're done with your scrapbooking for the day or whatever, and you're going to throw your stuff in your bag, just slide this little white shield or something over the top, and that's going to protect this in your bag from sticking to other papers or those kind of things that are in the bag where you've put your where you're storing your tape runner. Okay, so this is the tape runner. We also have a mini tape runner, and if you notice, this one is red here on the refill cartridge. So this one's white, clear, and this one's red. And so that's how you're gonna know by looking that this is the mini. And it's basically the same as this, except you just get a little narrow strip of adhesive. And if you're, if you need to just have one little, oh, see, I can't do one. I can only do two, apparently. There you go. There's one little tiny, tiny mini tape runner dot. So this is nice if you are doing something delicate, like this is the Infinity Chain Border Maker cartridge. And you can see on here where the white adhesive comes out, and you could just put just a little adhesive in the middle. Oops, I went off the edge. But just to cover just the little thinnest of art, you'll have a little, the mini tape runner can work for that. This one is only 20 feet, and so you're not probably going to want as much. You're not going to use this on your photos, probably. If you run out of other tape runner, of course, you can use this on your photos, but there's just not as much of it, width-wise or length-wise. This one does cost a little bit less because you do get less adhesive. Then we have the vellum tape runner, and this one's blue in the cartridge. And this is a little different because instead of the segments, this is like a continuous strip of glue. So it looks a lot the same. It's a little bit more opaque maybe than the strips, but this is designed to use with vellum. And that's of course why they call it the vellum tape runner refill. We don't have a lot of vellum in Creative Memories, and a lot of the vellum we've had has been patterned vellum. But if you use any vellum at all in your scrapbooks, you know that can be very difficult to find an adhesive that doesn't show. So this one, same thing, you just need a little bit in the corners. Well, let's do one corner. And on white, it almost virtually disappears. Just kind of run over it with your fingernail. But I mean, you cannot see that vellum on a light background. It doesn't work quite as well on a dark background. Dark backgrounds are hard because you want your adhesive to not distract from what you're doing. It works a little bit better, but as you can see, it's still a little bit visible. But if you were to compare this to regular tape runner on a black background, you can see that the vellum is easier to hide. But whenever I use vellum, if I have to use it on a black background or something and the adhesive shows, I try to hide my adhesive under an embellishment or a border or something like that. And that way, even if a little bit of it pokes out, you don't notice so much. But this works especially well on pattern vellums where you can have a little bit of forgiveness, much nicer than a white adhesive would be because it's a little bit more opaque. And then finally, we have my favorite, well, I love the tape runner, but the repositionable tape runner has been so super popular. It has just kind of revolutionized some of the things that I use for my scrapbooking. And the repositionable, you basically get a bunch of little dots. So when you put this down, it's just these little tiny dots of adhesive. But what's nice about them is that it's removable. So if you put too much, you just take your finger and rub it off, and all the little pieces rub off your paper, give it a little blow, and it rubs right off. So that makes it ideal for something like this that you might want to put on your page. And this one I will give you permission to kind of along the edge, because you can just go right over like this. You probably want to do it on a background sheet because as you can see, some of the adhesive did kind of show through. But then everything else just sticks to your design. And so then when you stick it down, same thing. Any that poke off the edge, you just rub it with your finger and that takes off any of that excess. And then adheres your design without any adhesive showing through. without any, having to be fussy and like I did with the mini tape runner, fit it exactly on the lines. Now it is repositionable. So if you make a mistake, decide you don't want it, you can pick it up and move it to a different spot and stick it down again. You can't do that too many times because eventually all the sticky is going to, be left where you had it before. But it does give you some flexibility if you're kind of figuring something out, or if you didn't get your border straight or something like that. I would not use this for my photos. I know that there are people who do. I know there are people who have switched completely to the repositionable tape runner. For me, I really like to have my good old regular tape runner for my photos. I know that this is permanent and it's going to keep my photos on my layouts, for longer than I'm going to be alive and past that. The repositionable is not ever going to become permanent. Now, they do say that it will become a lot more tacky, and I have found from my own experience that when I've done like a sample of something to show somebody and I've left the repositionable on, taped onto something like this, like if I were to leave this sitting for a couple weeks and when I went to take it off, it would come off, but it would rip, which is kind of the same of any of our adhesives. You can't always rip the thing, but some of the paper is going to come off. So don't think of this as being permanent. Creative Memories does not advertise it as permanent. It is mostly designed for things like embellishments, or if you are maybe working on a pre-made layout and you're not exactly sure where you're going to eventually have your photos, you want to just tack those down on your layout for now. The repositionable is great for that, but its ability to shine comes when you're working on, something like a border punch, or maybe one of our laser die cuts. I mean, this would be just a big pain to try and adhere using a regular tape runner, trying to find a place where that sticks in. But with this, again, you just kind of go over the top and the adhesive sticks. Let's see, there you go. The adhesive sticks, you can see it's poking off a little bit on the edge, but I can put this down, press it down, and then rub off any excess. And so it doesn't show on my page and it's not going to stick to other things on my page. And of course, if I put it down crooked, like I just did, I can pick it up and align it properly. Or if I decide, you know what, I really don't want to use these crowns here on this red scrapbook layout of different tape runners, I'm going to pop it back off and I'm going to rub off this excess adhesive. And now I can put it back with my other laser die cuts and use it for a different project. So that is the repositionable tape runner that has just been a game changer for a lot of scrapbookers. Now, only the regular tape runner, and the repositionable tape runner are sold in a case. So if you're going to want to use the vellum or the mini, you're going to want to just have an extra case, one that you've already used up the tape and refilled it, or your advisor maybe has a case that they have extra that they can give you or sell you for these other two. But I said start with this one. This is then your next purchase. What you're going to want is the repositionable tape runner. All right. So besides the tape runner, we have a few other adhesives that serve kind of different purposes. We have our Precision Point adhesive, which is basically a glue pen. And this one, you're going to want to shake before you use it, get it all nicely mixed up. And then the actual adhesive comes out blue. And it's going to dry clear, but it comes out blue so you can see where it is before you stick it down. I like to use little dots. I feel like I have more control, but you can just kind of write, like a pen. Lets you get out there in those little corners. And this one is very permanent. There is not a lot of forgiveness on this. With our regular, even our regular permanent tape runner, you have some grace after you stick it down that you can move, pick things up and move it around before it's completely bonded with your layout. But with this one, once you stick it down, it needs about 30 seconds to dry. But once you stick it down, it is there to stay. And so be sure you know where you want to put this. If you did want to pick this up and move it, it's going to leave kind of some sticky residue on the background. So this one's a little bit more messy, I feel like, than our other adhesives. And since we have the repositionable tape runner, I just don't use this as much. I do like this if I have maybe a heavier embellishment, some paper flowers, or if I'm using a background paper that's a little bit tricky, like glitter paper or a shimmer paper, metallic type paper. Sometimes regular tape doesn't want to stick to it as well. But the glue pen, because it is a liquid adhesive, once you let it dry, it can kind of grab onto some of those less forgiving papers. So that's the Precision Point adhesive glue pen. And then we have photo corners, which are great for if you ever want to put something in your book that you don't want to stay permanently. Maybe you have a heritage photo that your mother gave you, but she's not sure she wants to have it be permanently attached to a scrapbook because she might want it back. You might want to be able to take it out to make copies, or as a professional photo, something that's irreplaceable. And so for those, I really recommend the photo corners. We have a couple of kinds. The standard one are these clear archivers for photo corners. And let's see, they're, I think, about 1.25 inches. All right, 1 3/4 in along the diagonal side, and about 1.25 inches from, on the straight edges. And what I like to do with these is to put it on my photo first. So kind of pop it open. Here's a photo of us at Topgolf. So put the photo corner on here on the picture. I'll do a couple, because these are super sticky and they're not forgiving at all. And once you've got this stuck down, that is where it's staying. So then you can make sure you have your picture just where you want it. And then you stick down the photo corners. And sometimes I'll just do 1 or 2 corners, and then I will take the other side and slide the corner on. I just feel like this is the best way to get them exactly where I need to get them, rather than trying to put them on the page first and make the photo fit. I like to attach them to the photo and then press that down. So these are the large photo corners. You get 120 of these in a package, the large size, and then we have the medium size. We don't actually sell a small, but the medium size is, you get 140 of them. And that would, for like a picture this size, that medium photo corner would be fine. If you're doing an 8x10, or maybe you're doing a brochure or a certificate, the bigger ones work great for that. If you're doing a heritage album, we do have these new craft photo corners. These are very kind of retro looking, maybe what you might have seen in a scrapbook that your grandmother did. I don't know if these are permanent to line, if they're limited, but you get 360 of these, and maybe these are the small ones. They're a little bit smaller than what the medium one is, but they are the craft color, and so they are going to draw a little bit more attention to themselves. And finally, I want to talk to you about foam squares. Now, a lot of companies have these, so you're probably familiar with them. You get 154 of these little 1/4 inch ones and 63 of the 1/2 inch ones. And these are so fun for adding dimension to your pages. Maybe you want to just pop something up to give it a little bit of extra oomph, or you're layering some embellishments. That's what you're going to want to use the foam squares for. So it's 2 sheets. Voila, the 2 sheets that stick together. And they have a protective coating on one side, and then the back is just stuck to this sticker background. So you peel it off. Let's see what I can stick to it. And then you just put it on whatever it is that you want to pop up off your page. And you want a few of them because you don't want it to squish around them. So I put my three little stickers, and then you peel off these little covers. They are a little bit messy. And then I'm going to put this on this page because remember I talked about hiding my vellum. I'm going to cover this up, my little adhesive, with a little embellishment. And it gives it just that hint of dimension. You see it's popped up off the page. There we go. And it just visually is appealing to have a little bit of interest. You could do, multiple layers of something. Some of them popped up, some of them not. So those are the foam squares. And all of these things can be used for anything in your scrapbooks with the knowledge that they are going to be safe. They're not going to discolor. They're not going to damage your photos, and they're not going to dry out and have your photos fall off, which is one of the real dangers with some of the other adhesives that we've used over the years in scrapbooks. You don't want them to cause damage to your photos, but you also want them to keep your photos in your scrapbook where you want them. So I hope that this has been helpful for you to learn a little bit about these Creative Memories adhesives. I'd love to know what your favorite is. If you have tried the Repositionable adhesive, sorry, I just covered my family up with these pictures. If you've tried the Repositionable adhesive and you love it, I'd love to hear about that in the comments. Which one is your favorite? The glue pen, the foam squares? Everybody has their favorite kind of Creative Memories adhesive. And I hope that you now will know a little bit more about the adhesives that you have, and that you will be able to use them as you're creating scrapbooks and preserving your precious memories. Thanks so much for watching, and happy scrapbooking.